White said in his essay, Here's New York, he said, no one should ever come to live in New York unless they are willing to be lucky. And I think, though, that the people who come to party on my street...
All right, this is ChRiS Lowe.
Now the bar stools are all vacant, and the waitress calls my name. So I bust the night's last table, Cowgirl Hall of Fame. And I still can smell the catfish and the smoking day-old beer in my hair and on my clothing when I get out of here. Downtown is history. I wonder, was it ever what it used to be? You know, they've closed the Derby Steakhouse and the Village Gate is gone. Now it's just another drugstore that don't sell the kind I'm on. But the kettle is still serving. You can drop by for a glass, but you better root for Green Bay, or the crowd might kick your ass. Downtown is history. I wonder, was it ever what it used to be? Downtown is history. I wonder, was it ever what it used to be? You know, I wish it was the 50s, or the 60s, or the teens, so I could talk to someone who don't know what Starbucks means. And lately I've been brooding on this very strong desire to sit in front of Kmart and set myself on fire. Downtown is history. I wonder, was it ever? I wonder, was it ever? Sometimes I gotta wonder, was it what it used to be? Was it ever what it used to be?
ChRiS Lowe, give it up, man. That is awesome. So, do you think it was what it used to be? What do you think, ChRiS Lowe? How long have you lived in New York?
Pretty much all my life.
Where were you born?
I was born on Long Island, but there's some,
Okay,
like somebody said, I think it might be in Jamaica.
Queens?
Hospital. Yeah.
So you don't even know?
I'm not sure.
And, that's so funny. He doesn't even know. But Jamaica is going...
I'm adopted.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's one of my skeletons.
Oh, all right. Well, it is Cheese Balls Day, baby. Have some cheese balls. Yay. You see, people like skeletons. I love it.
How long does it take for this to kick in?
Lorraine, you feel it yet?
Anthony's gone and just called
He's gone.
I think it's hitting both of us. He's calling me on the phone.
Is he calling for help?
Is he lost? Is he lost?
He must be lost.
Oh, there you go. All right, so not too long.
You mentioned the Village Gate
Yes.
in the song. It's Maya Cavallero's birthday today.
Oh.
And she's the granddaughter of Art Lugoff, who owned the Village Gate. So happy birthday, Maya.
Wow, nice, nice. Wow.
Is that Alice?
Yes.
Are they one and the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I know Sharon. I worked there for a little while
Sharon.
as a ticket taker, basically. As a phone answer. It's a great way to get to see a lot of jazz.
I used to do that at the Ritz.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Alice sings, yeah.
But the Village Gate, I actually did go to the Village Gate. Not did you play there?
No, actually, I snuck in and saw the Birds every night when they played there in the mid-'60s. And I wasn't old enough to get in, so I'd go through the side entrance where the staff would go in, and I'd sneak in and sit at a side table, and they would kick me out. And I saw the shows for free every night.
Good for you. Good for you.
So I learned to play the drop D tuning, David Crosby.
Ah.
You know, I watched this film and go, that's how I did Lady Friend.
Wow.
That's a wonderful tuning, yeah.
Yeah.
It really opens up the whole
Yeah,
thing.
the drop D.
So when did you work there?
In the very early 90s, like back in 1990.
And when did it end?
It closed in the mid to
Janice
late
was the
90s.
last thing, right?
I think so. That was close to the end.
To the end.
Yeah.
And then didn't it turn into Life, like a nightclub for a little while?
I'm not sure. I know that there is a theater/music hall downstairs.
Oh, still
now.
there is?
It's a CVS, unfortunately.
I know it is upstairs. Oh, the whole.
Both what was the terrace and the top of the gate are now
the drugstore.
It's Poisson Rouge now, I think.
Oh, that's
Right,
what
that's
it is.
the
Right,
downstairs,
I actually was there. Yes, that's exactly what it is. You're so hip, Alan Merrill. You know everything.
I'm ubiquitous.
I know. You know everything.
A ubiquitous guest.
You are. It's brilliant. That's why I love you so much. So, okay, so you grew up in New York. Now, downtown. Did you love downtown? Do you remember like the good, the bad, and the ugly, or like because your song makes me question like are you doubting was it really ever what it was?
Well, it's based on a quote that Dave Van Ronk told me about, and he didn't know exactly who had said it, but it might have been E.E. Cummings, who said the village was never what it used
That's
to be.
what I'm wondering. Okay, so
yeah, and so that was the inspiration for the song.
So is it just our memories make us think it's something that it's not?
I've lived on McDougal Street for like 25 years now. And
okay, which is long, but not that long.
Oh, no.
It's long in the sense that hopefully you have good rent.
Right.
You know, you can never leave.
But it's really so different.
It's different.
And,
Scrap bar?
Gone.
I know.
I live almost directly upstairs from what used to be.
Scrap bar?
Yeah.
Okay, I know exactly where you live.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just.
I loved the scrap bar.
It's a different place altogether, you know.
Yeah, well, McDougal and Bleecker. When I was a little kid, I used to beg my mother, like, can we please go to the village? I want to see the hippies.
Right. Well, that's when I first saw it.
And my mother used to take me, and I'd say, where are they? I don't see any hippies. And she said, I think it's because they don't come out during the day. And that was the worst thing I ever needed to hear, because then I never wanted to come out during the day, and I wanted to find them at night. Exactly. So were there a lot of hippies back then? Or they were over already?
They were over already.
I'd say the Cafe One in the mid-'60s, there were a lot of hippies back
then.
Wow.
And that's still there.
It looks totally, I played there about 2 months ago, and it was just like,
totally
it was the same but very different. It was like a weird feeling to go back to a place I played in my mid-teens, and then the room just looked so small to me. Carry on. But when I started out, then there was the underground next door, which is now the comedy club. It's a comedy club. It's down in that basement. Used to be a place where you played music and they sold posters and oils and.
Jimi Hendrix Black Lake posters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So all right, McDougal Street. Do you still love it?
Yeah, I mean, I love living in the village. I can't imagine living in.
I mean, McDougal is like such a famous street, and you have that song McDougal Street. And, and I mean, you're kind of retro-y in a way, don't you think?
I guess so. Yeah, sure.
Who are your influences? I'm just curious.
Well, I listen to a lot of really old-timey blues. Mississippi John Hurt and Gary Davis. And Dave Van Ronk was my mentor and produced my album.
Wow.
And he and I were great buddies. He really took me under his wing and encouraged me. So he's probably my biggest influence.
Nice.
Out of the blue, did you ever meet Billy Fields?
No.
Okay, Billy was also a disciple of David and
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
do you have? Look like you have grown your fingernail.
Oh yeah, there
Right.
was on my. I do use a flat pick and these fingers.
And I was watching your finger pick, and it's great.
Oh, thanks.
I used to have that when I used to play 12 string exclusively, electric 12 strings. I used to shellac them so that they'd be harder.
Right, I do that sometimes.
Yeah.
I do that sometimes
tips.
when the tip of the tips.
Yeah.
Exactly, because
Literally, no pun intended.
it
It's your
depends on
tips.
how long you have
But
to
it's a great technique. I love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, do you get a manicure? Would they like want to cut your nails? Or you're afraid?
I just have done it for so long that I don't need one, you know?
Yeah.
It's
And this hand's short.
For those who
Right.
can't see, he's got long fingernails here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially the pinky, which is good for multiple
So
things.
it really looks like the wrong thing.
Yeah,
I have to do a lot of
exactly.
explaining quite often, you know.
It's true though. But I was saying, I saw a Charlie Chaplin movie yesterday called, I think, Modern Times. Is that it? And I never saw like the whole thing. And there's a scene where he's in jail, and they put up the silent movie thing, and it says hiding the nose powder. And all of a sudden, this guy takes out a bag of white powder, puts it in a salt shaker, and then gets busted, and he didn't have it on him. And then Charlie Chaplin doesn't know that it's in there, and he starts putting it on everything. And he's sort of like, he's going all crazy.
Oh
and I'm
my
like,
God.
oh my God, he's doing coke in the movies in the olden days. I didn't know they
But
did
you
that.
know, the original Coca-Cola had cocaine.
Cocaine in it.
Yeah, but this was nose powder.
Yeah.
It's called. And he was like wiping it everywhere, giving it to people. Like,
Yeah, but nose powder was the original ingredient for Coca-Cola.
That was what it was called, nose powder?
Right.
Well, nose powder or cocaine, but Coca-Cola.
It was,
Well, the main ingredient was cocaine.
So this is making me. He's been on my mind today. Like, Charlie Chaplin. That's funny. So where are you playing? I saw you play. I'm so grateful I did. And
Thanks.
you're just like such a natural. How long have you been playing? How?
Since I was about 12, which is the 70s.
Wow.
So, it's been a while. And
Wow.
I'm going to be playing again at the Nightingale Lounge
Okay. When?
on May 1st.
Ooh,
At
May
8
Day.
o'clock.
Okay.
And I've got something coming up. I haven't got a date yet for Cafe Vivaldi.
Nice.
And but if people go on to
So
Facebook,
do you ever go out of the vicinity of the village? You're all the way on Avenue B now.
I know, right?
This is like out of your hood,
Right.
but it's really not.
I know this is.
Well,
I used to
14th
not
Street.
go above 14th Street.
Yeah, well,
I
this
get
is
no
not
sleep
above
and stuff.
14th
Yeah,
Street.
right. I'm still
Yeah,
on the
we
south
stay
side
on
of the
this
street.
side.
I'm okay.
On.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll play wherever
I
anyone
know.
invites me
Of
to.
course, I know.
Websites or
Yeah.
new albums out or
I have my album that Van Long produced will be available on iTunes in just days.
Oh,
Right?
good.
So we got the artwork
How
for
many
it.
songs are on it?
It's 15.
Great.
Wow, good for you.
Title?
It's just called ChRiS Lowe.
Okay.
And then I'm almost done with the second album with writing it, and so that shouldn't be too long
So
to
you
follow.
are not useless.
Well, a lot of it has already been written, and then I go through. It's just like what you guys were saying.
Yeah.
There's dry spells,
I
and then
know.
there's incredible rushes
I
of
know.
Wet
waves.
spells.
Yes.
That's right, exactly.
Well, that's what they are.
Of course.
It makes sense,
So
right?
funny.
But I feel like
Well,
I
don't be
would-
I would have-
Miseducated.
I would have called Pink Soup. Come on.
Sorry.
All
Well,
right.
I love your museless expression.
It's
I
so
really,
good,
I
right?
think that is awesome. I've felt that way millions of
Oh,
times.
I
You know,
know.
Edgar Allan Poe used to make up words that became words.
I love Edgar Allan Poe.
He is a muse.
Did he
is.
invent phantasmagorical? Was that?
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
The land of Weir was his invention.
And the Ravens wear those big black capes all because of him, and I love them. Exactly. He's the best. I know. All right, so what were
So
you
yeah, in
saying?
lieu of a website, I have my Facebook fan
Like
page.
everybody.
So if you go there and like that, I will be able to keep you guys posted on this album release and upcoming gigs and stuff. Which would be
That's
great.
cool. Yeah. And Nightingales, so do you,
Nicholas.
have you played there? That's where I saw you. So
Right.
have you played there before that too?
Yeah, I've been there a couple of times in the last few months. It's,
Nice.
It's a nice little room.
It is a nice room,
Yeah.
and it's a friendly crowd.
Absolutely.
And it's not like the Nightingales back in the day, though. It's also revamped and.
It's funny. I played there, I think, in 1989, and
Yeah.
I didn't play there again until just like January.
Totally different,
it's
right?
really funny.
It
Yeah,
was
I
the
didn't
big
recognize
facelift,
it at all.
exactly. It used to be grungy diving.
It was weird. I couldn't even remember where in the room I stood. when
It
I
is in
played
the
it.
same location.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
They
it
do
is.
change. The clubs change.
They do, except not Otto's Shrunken Head. Actually, Otto's had a fire,
Yeah.
and they made it look exactly like it did before the fire. I always wonder how they did that. It was like, I saw this room gutted, fire, gone. And then you come back, and it's like, wait a minute. It's like deja vu, but a little different.
Different.
A little different, but not that different.
We didn't have that.
It still feels like Otto's.
We didn't have like
There's
the.
still this
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah, they did a good remake. I know.
routine to
Oh
whatever it
gosh,
is.
please be careful with matches. So, exactly. I know fires are scary. So, where's the furthest place away you ever played? And
I guess Buffalo, New York.
that's pretty far. That's
Yeah.
out of this radius.
I did play. I played at an open mic once in Florida, so I guess
Oh, that's
gotta
far too.
count,
How'd
too.
that go? I could see them really liking you
It was
there.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, well, I had a broken fingernail and ended with a terrible blister on the tip of my finger.
Oh.
All I remember is the pain. I don't really remember how the audience
Oh, and it
responded.
wasn't even from sunburn.
No, unfortunately.
Finger
Remember the varnish. Always remember the
Right.
varnish.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mistake you only make once, you know.
Wow, good for you. Well, not
Yeah.
always, man. I
It's fun.
make mistakes multiple times. I should learn from you. Yeah. So, yeah, that's cool, man. Everything you do. I know you. I heard a few of your songs, and each one is its own little story.
Thanks.
It's.
Skeletons.
Well, he said his skeleton. He said when he came is that he's adopted. Remember?
Oh, that's true.
He did
Yeah.
it right off the
Yeah.
bat. But if you do
Right.
have another skeleton you want to share, like.
Well, it's something you and I have in common, is
Okay.
that we were both child actors.
Right.
Ah.
And I did a bunch of commercials here in New York City. which is
Like
why I was,
anything we'll know.
I was the Ovaltine kid with Joe Namath in 1971.
Amazing.
You can find it on YouTube.
That's
I
great.
say,
Wow.
My old pal Ovaltine, you know. It's out there
Wow!
still. And I was on a soap opera for a really
Which
long
one?
time. Search for Tomorrow.
Wow!
Yeah,
That's pretty
so-
cool. What was your name on the show?
It was Eric Lashinsky.
Really? Do you
Which,
remember who your mother was?
Well, the actress was Kelly Wood.
Okay.
And she died a couple of years into it, and then I had adopted parents,
Oh.
which paralleled my
That's
real
what I
life.
was just
It
gonna
made
say,
it
right?
really easy to act.
Wow! Did you have siblings on the show?
No, I was an only child.
Is that in real life too?
No,
Okay. There you go.
but it was a lot of fun to grow up on the soap opera, and it's what really got me into the city. And whenever I was here, and sometimes we go down to the village for auditions and stuff,
Right.
and that's kind of where I was like, this is where I want to play.
Wow.
Now I do. So.
I have
John
an interesting
Heyman.
question. Now, you were adopted. Were your siblings adopted with you?
They were.
That's good.
And my parents were smart enough to tell us right away. Like the first
Okay.
time we asked, where did we come from? They were like, you're adopted.
Okay.
So it wasn't like some shock.
Right.
Yeah.
And I grew up with some kids in my junior high school who had just found out, and I felt so bad for them. It must be really shocking to live your whole life up
Not
until you're 15
knowing.
or something, and then suddenly hear, I'm not related to these people? Although
Wow.
for some, I'm sure they go, thank God I'm not related to these people. How was that a beginning?
The drummers Willie Wilcox and Jimmy Wilcox, Willie from Utopia and Jimmy Wilcox from Scandal, were both adopted and not related. But they both became incredible drummers, which is interesting.
Wow.
Maybe
Yeah.
they are.
They both spiritually related.
Maybe they are related. You never know, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Wow. Well, it's a pleasure. Have another.
I will.
Have a handful, please. There's a lot of cheese balls. It is National Cheese Ball
It's
Day.
time to trip.
Yes, it is. So have a
I'm
ball.
a cheese
Take
ball.
full lysergic acid, you know?
Yay! We do that as an
It's
extra.
government issue here. We're all
Thanks
right.
so much for visiting.
Oh,
and
my
come back
pleasure.
anytime. We would
Absolutely.
love it. Thank you, ChRiS Lowe.
All right.
Mr. Greenwich Village. Yeah. We'll be back. All right.
They got it slightly wrong. They thought he said everyone should come to New York and try to get lucky. Anyway.
alone till she was with me. Yeah,